and we have a quorum of 174. Thank you very much. This is the first meeting that we've had in this beautiful new building, and I think the committee that put it together and worked hard for the school, I think they deserve applause, don't you? Before we go on, I would like to begin with, if you would join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to introduce the people at the front tables here. Anne Gurney, our town clerk. Bill Hewitt, finance. One of these days. And we have a new finance director, Denise Dembowski. And Jackie Sullivan. I'm going to let the selectmen introduce themselves, starting with the chairman.
Don Grady.
As this is Don Graney's last town meeting as selectman, I think Betty Gorski would like to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming out. Don Graney has served on the Board of Selectmen for 7 years, and he's done an outstanding job. We have a lot to be proud of in this building that he worked so hard with the building committee to make it real for the kids and the community. So I want to thank Don for his hard work. Sometimes it's a thankless job, and I want to say I was pleased to serve with him. Thank you.
To my right and my left is the Finance Committee. I'd like to introduce Bill Cook, the chairman. John Gray, the vice chairman. Michelle O'Keefe. Kathleen Delisle. Tommy Michello. And Leanne Berry, the secretary. And I think Bill Cook would like to say a few words about a departed member of the Finance Committee.
He worked on our committee for over 40 years, and he was very dedicated to the town. He always had a standing answer, and that was no to everything. He was an excellent part of our committee, and I'd like to have a moment of silence before that comes.
We also have a few dignitaries on the stage, including Mr. Bill DeRosa, Superintendent of Whittier Rotec. And we will start the special town meeting. Anne, would you like to start reading? In the name of the
the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in the special town meeting to meet at the Dr. Elmer S. Bagnell School at 253 School Street on Monday, April 28, 2014, at 7 p.m. to vote for the following articles. And that was to Robert Kamelowitz, Chief of Police. Article 1. This article, to pass it, requires a 2/3 vote. To see if the town will vote to rescind Part 2 of Article 21 voted at the annual town meeting of April 25th, 2011, as the funds were not required to complete the project known as green repairs to the Elmer Bagnell Elementary School, or take any other action relative thereto. Board of Selectmen.
We need to change the wording on this. On the first line, it says to see if the town will vote, and it should say to rescind the vote taken under Part 2 of Article 21. So we just need to add that little section in there, if we could do that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Board of Selectmen recommend. Finance. With the amendment. So we're going to vote first on the article as amended. Those in favor of the article as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. I take that as a 2/3 vote. Now we'll vote on the article as amended, with the vote taken under Part 2. Okay? Excuse me. Those in favor of Article 1 as amended, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. To the vote. Oh, it's a unanimous vote, sorry. Article 2. To see if the town will vote to amend Article 2 voted at the annual town meeting. Does this have to be changed again? You want?
Okay, again, this one had some wording that needed to be adjusted, so I'll just read the way we want to amend it. To see if the town will vote to amend the vote taken under Article 2 voted at annual town meeting on April 29, 2013, by reducing the available funds transferred $213,867 due to a change in the state appropriation, or take any action relative to it too.
Thank you. Selectmen recommend. Finance. Favorable as amended. Someone moving? So moved. Second? Okay, we're voting first on the amendment, the slight change in wording. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Now we're voting on the whole article as amended. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. No. Unanimous. Thank you. Article 3. I'm going to paraphrase a little. Vote to transfer $10,000 from the Conservation Commission fees account to the Conservation Commission expense account. Board of Selectmen recommend. Finance. Finance Board recommend. Moved. Do we have a second favorable? Second. Second, thank you. Any discussion? We're falling apart here. Any discussion? No? Okay. Vote on Article 3. Those in favor of Article 3 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous.
Article 4, town will vote to authorize an additional sum of $15,000 expended from the Bagnell Summer Programme Revolving Fund over the amount authorised by annual town meeting Article 23 in 213 to cover additional expenses, etc. Recommend Board of Selectmen. Finance. Moved and seconded favourable. Any discussion? None. There being none, we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 4 say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say no. Majority. We have one no, I think. Article 5. To vote to authorise the selectmen to file on behalf of the town and any and all applications deemed necessary for grants and reimbursements from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts under the Land and Water Conservation Act, and any others in any way connected with the purchase of a certain parcel of land located off Main Street, etc. You can read the rest yourself. This article authorises selectmen to accept $200,000 grant for the purchase of the Mattingly property, towards the purchase of the Mattingly property approved at last year's town meeting. The specific language in the article must match the state's requirement. So that's why we're voting on this. Selectmen recommend? Finance? Moved and seconded favourable. Any discussion, questions? There being none, we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 5 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 6. To see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody and control of the land described below from the board currently maintaining such care, custody and control to such board and the Board of Selectmen for its current purpose. This article requires a 2/3 vote. Further, we authorise the Board of Selectmen to grant such easement, covenants and or restrictions on said property or portions thereof as may be required by the DEP and or the Environmental Protection Agency. Article requires a 2/3 vote submitted by the Board of Selectmen. Selectmen recommend? Finance? Moved and seconded, favourable. Any discussion? Please come to the mic at the front. We've got one at the front here that's working.
I really don't need them. I just want to know where the property is. I don't know.
Whoa. Please go to the mic, give your name and address, and hold on.
Kathy Montalvo, Baldwin Terrace. I just want to know exactly where the property is.
Turn the mic on.
Hey, it's not my job to turn it on.
Okay.
You're gonna make a go to it, turn it on.
This land is over near where the New Mill Pond is, where the water department has their brick building.
That's what I thought.
It abuts to the land where the water filtration from the Valley Screw building that travels down through by where the mill pond was, out the waterway that goes down the back of Washington Street. DEP has taken over the ownership of that filtration building, and just so that everybody knows, as of May 1st, due to the water testing that they've taken and the sampling they're getting, they're going to shut down the filtration system because they've got the water clean. They're going to monitor it and keep an eye on it, and they're going to make sure that the levels don't come up, and if they do, they'll refire it up. So this is something they needed as a restriction on the property so that nobody would do anything that they don't deem necessary.
Thank you, Donnie.
Any other questions? Now we need a 2/3 vote to pass this. Those in favour of Article 6 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Thank you. Article 7. Is there a second? We've had a move to suspend the reading of the article.
Second.
All in favour of suspending reading of the article? Aye. Any opposed? Selectmen recommend favourable finance. It's been moved favourable. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Okay. Any more discussion? There being none, we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 7 say aye.
Hold on.
Sorry. Name and address, please. And make sure that's on here.
Kim, with some of the money that we are saving tonight, maybe we could get, this is like the old sound system. Nick Cochran, 35 Union Street. We're not in Kenya, and I always have this problem wondering why we continue to repair flat roofs. It's New England, particularly after the kind of winter that we've had. Is there anyone that can, how many times have we repaired the flat roofs in our schools and in some of the buildings in town? Is that an issue at all? Is there anyone that can I will reply to that. Thanks. Okay.
Greg Brackett, of Groveland, Paris. I'm also the business manager of the Connecticut Regional School District. Actually, the roof we're repairing here isn't one of the flat ones. In 2003, they did the flat roof section of the middle school, but for some reason, I don't know why, they didn't do the pitched roof over the auditorium. So this article takes care of that pitched roof section, as well as putting brand new 97% efficiency boilers in the middle school under the same program we use in all the elementary schools, including Groveland under the Green Repair Program. The state's going to reimburse us 51.79% of that cost. It is not done through a debt exclusion. It's factored into the normal Prop 2.5 budget within the school district. So it's basically, with your approval, we get all these upgrades and things half paid for by the state.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And see, those in favour of Article 7? That's the very... Let me see if everybody's hearing me. Those in favour of Article 7 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 8. See, if the vote practicable to put 400,000 borrowing authorised by a vote for the Kentucky Regional School District School Committee for the purpose of paying costs of athletic field improvements, land acquisition, construction and development of athletic plans, including all costs incidental or relative thereto, which amount shall be in addition to the 700,000 previously appropriated for such purpose or take action relative thereto, submitted by Pentucket Regional School Committee. Board of Selectmen recommend? Favorable. Finance? Favorable. Does anybody move this question?
Can you do something about the sound system?
Yeah,
Is this one better?
Hey,
You want me to do it?
yeah. Tony for moderator.
I hear he's going to be available.
is this one working better? Yeah. Try that. I'm sorry, we were told that all the mics were in operating order and found that, guess what, they weren't. Okay. So, Article 8. Those in favour of Article 8 say aye. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. Start again. Yes. Any discussion? Any questions?
Lee Thomas, Baldwin Terrace, Groveland. I'm sorry. I'm a teacher. I don't need this mic. I have a question. I don't know who to answer. The recent problems they had at the high school, that's going to have to cost us money eventually. Should we be worried? I'm kind of concerned about putting money on fields when the building needs work. I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work out financially.
Are you talking about the flood?
Yeah. So how they going to... We're going to have to pay for that eventually, right?
Right.
Are we going to have to pay for the damage to the high school? Actually, it's fully covered by insurance except for a $10,000 deductible. Okay. Including the overtime to the custodian
Terrace? Everything. So we're into it for 10,000.
Okay, so we're into it for 10,000. One more? I think that's working now.
Dick Hodges, 35 Union Street. The last time we did some athletic renovations at the high school, there was an enormous amount of incompetence. TLT, which is fortunately out of business right now, but we had a brand new gym floor put in, and no one had the wisdom to put down a three-point line. That had to be done after the fact. They then went out to do the track and made 36-inch lanes. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with track, you have hurdles which are 42 inches. So take that 6 inches times 6 lanes. It was a major, major screw-up. Is there anyone from, now Greg has assured me, and I trust him, but is there anyone from the school committee that can comment on the fact that A, we're going to have competence, we're going to hire competence. TLT, by the way, they were sued in the Cape, they were sued in Georgetown, they were sued in Haverhill, and guess what? Pentucket thought it was a fabulous idea to hire that crew. In order for me to vote yes, and I'm willing to vote yes, if someone from the school committee will say, yes, we're going to hire competent people, not necessarily low bid. I hate low bid. Those two words I despise. And the other thing is, who's going to be the quality control person to make sure that this is going to be done correctly this time?
Thank you. Who would like to answer that? Name and address, please.
Doug Gelina, 116 Main Street. I'm on the school committee. I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I think they're going to do a great job. This project here was just recently done with some of the same people that's going to be involved with it. I don't have any reason to believe that you won't get your money's worth.
Anything else?
Oversight?
Greg, please.
The school is contracted with Gale Associates. Perhaps some of you have seen the presentation we did. It's on the website. It was disseminated to the towns, showing on video. I don't know if it's been done yet or not. Part of the bid process for this project is it'll be challenged most likely, and they will lose this challenge because it's happened in the past, that only companies that employ certified track and tennis court builders will be allowed to bid on the project. There will be a bond in place covering the full value of the project, which will not be released until it is accepted by the MIAA. These are all things that are in the bid documents. The track that's being built is going to be 8 lanes and 42 inches, as you rightly pointed out. And we've been asked several times why we're requiring the certified track builder and the certified tennis court builder. And the quickest definition I can get is, I don't want to be the guy who builds the track wrong again. So that's why those considerations are in there now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And any other questions? Please come to the mic. Give your name and address.
Bill Sarsfield, 4 Wood Street. I want to know the need, and when I run my budget in my house, I balance my need against what I want, and so I may want a brand new Mercedes every year, but I don't need a brand new Mercedes every year. So you're asking us to borrow $1.4 million for athletic field. I want to know what the need is. Why is that something that is necessary at this time?
I'm sorry, what was the question? The need is the tennis courts probably have one more year in them before we will not be able to use them anymore. We haven't been able to use the track in 7 years for the very things that Mr. Hodges outlined. It's not a viable track. We're spending all our money to transfer our students to other places, so we're spending a great deal of money on transportation to move them off-site just to participate in this. Especially track has over 200 participants, and in 7 years these children have never had a home track meet. This is one of the bigger problems we have at the school, helping to retain our students to stay with our school and not go to private schools and places like that. When the survey was done, one of the things that was listed is the facilities at the schools aren't very good. Well, the towns have stepped up and done work with the elementary schools, and the school committee and the subcommittee that approved this project found a way to handle all these things without, again, going for an override, just working within the funds available to the district. So what we're here to do is ask for your authorization to borrow. And it's not just the brand new tennis courts and the track, it'll also be a brand new softball field for the girls. The field hockey field will be rebuilt in the front. There'll be a new all-purpose field placed in the front where the tennis courts are running from the thing. It's going to have a drainage system. It's going to have irrigation systems, and it's been designed by one of the people that does a lot of the top designing in the state. So we're assuming this is going to be a really good project. It's going to be something that will last a while. We're going to take the transportation cost savings that we do and stick half of it aside for 10 years, but then we know the track will have to be resurfaced and the tennis courts will have those funds available to us, and we'll be repurposing the rest of it into the equipment because we've been able to buy new uniforms and things, equipment for the kids in a while too. So the whole thing has been rather well thought out, in my opinion, and I think it's really something that we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no more questions, we'll move on the article. Article 8. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Majority. Article 9. To see, excuse me, see if the town will vote to approve the amendment to the purposes of the $800,000 borrowing originally authorised by a vote to the Pentucket Regional School District School Committee in 2012, so that such appropriation may be used for the purpose of paying costs of projects for the repair of the deficient buildings and grounds, including land acquisition and the payment of costs incidental or relative thereto, such as follows: athletic field improvements, land and construction and development of the athletics plan, upgrade or replace high school theatre rigging, etc., and platforms, instrumental storage, and any other safely related items, not to exceed 100,000, or take any other action relative thereto. Pentucket Regional School Committee recommends. Is there someone here who recommends favourable or unfavourable?
They voted favorable.
Favourable. Selectmen? Favourable. Finance?
Favorable action. Move favorable action.
Second.
Moved and seconded, favourable action. Any other discussion? Then we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 9 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 10.
We move to dispense with the reading of Article 10.
Okay. This is to amend the regional agreement.
No, it's okay, Merrimack Farm.
I'm sorry. I turned over 2 pages there, sorry. To see if the vote will vote to approve the amendment. Would someone like to explain this? Pentucket Regional School Committee recommends favourable, I imagine. Yep. Selectmen? Favourable? Finance? Favourable. Discussion.
This is an article, before we changed the regional agreement about 2 years ago into that all-encompassing change we did, one of the sentences that was changed, we used to be able to only have to vote on articles that affected your town. Apparently when we made that change, it didn't click that that sentence was removed. So when Merrimack borrows some money and it only affects their assessments and only affects their taxes, all 3 towns had to approve it, where in the past only they had to approve it and we could defeat it, but if we did no action, it created the same thing as passing. So the bond council has asked us all if we will all re-vote it tonight, even though the project's already done, just for more of a process thing. Actually, later on, there's an article coming on that will fix it, so we don't have to do this again.
Any other questions? Then we will vote on this. Those in favour of Article 10 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. No. Majority. Now 11. Amend the regional agreement. see if the town will vote to amend section 13. I'm suspending. We're asking Greg to come and explain it a little bit, please. Just a short explanation.
Actually, the next two articles are changes to the regional agreement affecting the approval of debt. Article 11 is a request from the town of West Newbury. What it basically does is allow a town to prepay debt if it chooses not to borrow, which would allow them to save on their interest charges on their assessment. This can only work at the middle high school level, so it's very rare that it would ever be used, but there is a potential in this one because of the roof project this year. West Newbury is interested in paying upfront their $260,000 towards the roof project. So this would allow them to do that. It also sets out the methodology that the other two towns would finish off paying the debt. It works in such a way that they would pay no more than if all three towns went out to borrow it the same way. It doesn't add or detract anything, it just saves a town that wishes to prepay some interest over 10, 15, 20 years, whatever the life of the bond is. Again, West Newbury is actually voting tonight to appropriate their money straight up, so if you choose to do this, they'd be allowed then to just pay their money straight up and not have to borrow. Again, no effect on Groveland's assessment going forward, and this can only be applied to middle high school projects. As long as I'm standing here, Article 12 basically does the same thing, except it only applies to elementary school projects, where an individual town could vote to borrow and the other two towns don't have to approve it, so we don't have to do the thing we just did with Merrimack again.
Thank you. Okay, any other, yes, sorry, motion. I haven't asked the Board of Selectmen either. Recommend? Favourable. Finance? Okay. We have a motion? Motion and a second to move for a vote. Those in favour of Article 11 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Thank you. So as Greg explained, Article 12 is basically the same, but it's to do with the elementary schools. Okay. Selectmen moved and seconded for favourable action. Selectmen recommend? Finance? Okay. Any more discussion? Then we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 12 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. 13. To transfer for snow and ice removal to cover the fiscal year 2014 shortfall, which there is every year. Selectmen recommend? Finance? And capital improvement recommends? Favourable. It's moved, and I think we have a second for favourable. Okay, we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 13 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. 14. Vote to expend $168,298 to buy a new 5-ton truck for the Highway Department, submitted by the Capital Improvement Committee. Board of Selectmen? Finance? Capital Improvement? Moved and seconded favourable action. Any discussion? Then we'll vote. Those in favour on Article 14 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. 15. Turnout gear for the call firefighters, $100,000. Submitted by Capital Improvement Committee. Selectmen recommend? Finance? Capital Improvement? Moved and seconded favourable action. Any discussion? Okay. Those in favour of the new turnout gear for the call firefighters say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Thank you. Excuse my throat. 16. For this article, we need a 2/3 majority vote to transfer $3,070.89 from the overlay surplus account to the stabilization fund account. Article submitted by the Finance Director. Selectmen recommend. Finance? Moved in second, favourable action. Any discussion? There being none, we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 16 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. 17, transfer $25,000 from Water Enterprise Department retained earnings for the purpose of reimbursement for variable frequency drives. Article submitted by the Water and Sewer Commissioners. Selectmen recommend. Finance? Did someone move? Doesn't say. No. Does it have to? There's just a question here for a moment.
Which account are you transferring that to?
The article did not say where this money is being transferred to.
Maintenance line item.
Maintenance line item. Yeah. Maintenance line item.
Move favorable as amended.
We need to vote on the a change in the wording a little, that the transfer would be to the maintenance line item. Would someone like from the department like to make that amendment?
It's actually the expenses line item.
Would you like to say that again?
It's in the expenses line item?
It's in the expenses line item.
Correct. Transferred to.
Oh, not the maintenance line item. It's transferred to the expenses line item. Then we just have to vote on the slight change in wording. Those in favour of the new wording say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Okay, now we vote on Article 17 as amended with those new words in, that it's going to expenses line item. The recommendations of the new, with the new wording from the Finance Board? Selectmen? Okay. Everybody's in favour. So we'll vote on the amended Article 17. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Thank you. Unanimous as amended. So we know it's not going to pay for somebody to go to Hawaii. Article 18, another transfer. Yep.
Where's the 100,000 going from portion B?
The sewer expenses line item?
Sewer expenses line item. No better next time, right? We will vote first on the slight amendment to Article 18. This money transfer is going to the sewer expenses line item. Those in favour, Selectmen recommendation? Favourable. Finance?
Favorable.
Okay.
Move favorable action.
Moved and seconded. Sorry, I've got this backwards today.
As amended.
As amended. Those in favour of Article 18 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Unanimous. Article 19, to vote to make the following transfers or take any other action relative thereto. Okay, we're suspending the reading of that article. Now it's up to you to ask if there's anything that you want to discuss on this. Article 19. Selectmen recommend? Finance? Moved and seconded favourable action. Now, is there any discussion? Does anybody have any questions about any of those items? There being none, we will vote on Article 19. Those in favour of Article 19 say aye. Aye.
Opposed, say no. Unanimous. That brings us to the end of this special town meeting. I would like to motion's been made and seconded to dissolve the special town meeting. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. To the vote. The special town meeting is dissolved. Please stay in your place. I've been told by my husband that I shouldn't have the mic quite so near. Is that any better? No. Is that worse? Is that better? Yes. Not too close. Not this close. No. Okay. Anne Brody, would you like to start this?
To Robert J. Kamelowitz, Chief of Police of the Town of Groveland and the County of Essex. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town who are qualified to vote in the annual town meeting to meet at the Dr. Elmer S. Bagnell School, 253 School Street, Groveland, Mass., on Monday, April 28, 2014, at 7:30 p.m. to vote on the following articles.
Hi everyone, thank you again for coming. Just one thing I wanted to do again before we go too far. Last year, remember to thank all the people that work for the town. So again, I'd like to thank all the members of all the departments that work for the town, the volunteers that put in all their time to do the projects that we do to get the town to where it is today. We've got the fire department, police department, water department, sewer department. We've just got so many people that are doing the work for us and we don't ever recognize their service. So, I'd like to thank all them as well as the committees and the people we appoint. So thank you very much.
Now, before we start the annual town meeting warrant, I'd like to say, if you folks vote, someone makes a motion that I dispense with the reading of all the warrant articles, this is legal. I think that helps things move along. It means that you have to read carefully what you've got in front of you. But if someone would like to make a motion that we dispense, that the moderator dispense with the reading, and we have a vote on that and it passes, then I don't have to read anything. I'll give you time to read if you want. How do you feel about this?
I'm not in favor.
Not in favor? Okay, those in favor of my dispensing with the reading, say aye. Aye. Those not in favor, say no. No. It's 50-50, so I'll carry on. But I will try and make it short and sweet. Okay, Article 1. To see if the town will vote to authorize selectmen to petition the state for Chapter 90 funds, basically, under the State Department of Public Works, in accordance with state statutes. Article submitted by the Board of Selectmen. So Board of Selectmen recommend favourable, I'd imagine. Finance Board recommends. Is there a second? Moved in second, favourable. Any questions, discussion? Then we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 1 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Two, to see if the town will transfer from available funds $213,576 for Chapter 90 road work. Selectmen recommend. Finance? Moved and second favourable. Any discussion for the road money? Then we'll vote. Those in favour of Article 2 say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no.
Unanimous. 3, raise an appropriate $900 for the William R. Dewhurst Unit Post 7366, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Board of Selectmen recommend. Finance? Moved and seconded, favourable action for the VFW. All in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. 4, to accept a sum of $35,000 from the Groveland Municipal Electric Light Department. This is a very tricky one. Board of Selectmen recommend. Finance? Moved and seconded, favourable to accept $35,000. Any discussion? Then we'll vote. Those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Unanimous. Article 5. To see, okay, we're going to have some discussion on this. To see if the town will vote to rescind the unused borrowing authority authorised by the affirmative vote of 2013 annual town meeting warrant, Article 12. Is somebody going to discuss this? Okay, Board of Selectmen recommend. Finance? Moved and seconded, favourable action. Discussion.
I'd like to propose an amendment. Bob Guptill, 9 Fairview Circle. I'd like to propose an amendment to this article to put a time frame on when the article would be invoked, when it would begin. 2 parts to this amendment. You're going to have to follow along with me. I'll try to explain it as clearly as I can so that you can see where the words are going to be changed within the article. To see if the town will vote to rescind, new words, as of 11:59 p.m., June 30th, 2014. Continues with the warrant article as written. It's unused borrowing authority authorized by the affirmative vote of 2013 annual town meeting, warrant article 12, which authorized the town to borrow $3,675,000 to acquire approximately 61 acres of land, all contingent upon the voters of the town approving a debt exclusion ballot question, which ballot question was approved at the annual election in May of 2013. Continuing with the amendment. Provided, however, that if a purchase and sales agreement has been signed by both the town and the seller and certified and approved by town council by 11:59 p.m., June 30th, 2014, that this article shall not take effect or take any other action relative thereto.
This is the amendment. This is the amendment that you want to put in the article.
Correct.
Would you like to explain a little about what the article is about?
As everyone knows, this money was appropriated to purchase 61 acres off Center Street owned by Jim Bussing. Through the process of trying to get the purchase and sale agreement and to find that he actually owns the land that he's selling to us, we found a few flaws. So we currently have found that there are 2 parcels that were in question. We've got it pinned down to those. We just found one at almost 6 o'clock tonight who the actual owner of the property was. Had to go way back. So we wanted to, work with the conservation and open space people to give them, one last opportunity. If we can get a purchase and sale agreement in place that shows that the land is actually owned by Jim Bussing and that it's certified that we aren't going to have any title issues, that we would keep the funding open to make this acquisition of the property. But if we don't have a purchase and sale by midnight on the 30th of June, the deal is over. And currently, we're not in a purchase and sale agreement. That expired a little while back. We had given several extensions. We weren't getting any information back, so we had to do the right thing and stop the process. So currently, it's possible that it could happen, and seeing as the town voted, both here at town meeting and on the ballot to make the purchase, we're giving them that opportunity, but as of that date and time, if it doesn't happen, the money is coming out of the open funding.
Thank you.
Does that amendment need a second? Because I will second it.
If you want to make a comment, you'll have to come to the mic.
I'm seconding the amendment.
Oh, you're seconding the amendment. Please. Yes, there's more discussion, but you're next.
Joe Demore, 9 Cherry Tree Lane. Just a point of clarification. The Board of Selectmen conducted our due diligence and our fiduciary responsibility when the purchase and sale negotiations broke down because a clear title could not be forthcoming. We felt very compelled that we wanted to take away the vote. That's what the warrant article says. We want to rescind the vote so that that money is not suspended out there for someone else to come by and make a proposal to use it for something else, which is quite possible. However, this seems to be a very reasonable compromise because no one can come by and take that money before July 1st. So if we set a deadline that clear title and a successful purchase and sale agreement is concluded by, what is it, 11:59? June 30th, we'll be safe, and it's a good compromise. Thank you.
Daniel MacDonald, to White Lane, Groveland. This is an opportunity for the town of Groveland to put the genie back in the bottle. Last year, we were before town meeting, and there wasn't an executed purchase and sale agreement. Here we are again, it's deja vu. Again, it appears that town's outside of contract. Last year, if anybody remembers, I was here, I think it's a poor public policy, buy up the commercial property in town. Forever and a day, in perpetuity, you're going to lose the tax base from that commercial property. Last year, we had a town meeting, and it was disclosed the dollar amount, $3 million and change. We went to the general ballot box, and there was no dollar amount on the question. I wasn't pleased with that. I don't know how other people feel, but I think that there was lack of disclosure at the general ballot box. This is an opportunity to right the wrong on this, put the genie back in the bottle. I think that the town vote to rescind this bond. It's an expensive bond, 20-year debt exclusion. There are bigger fish to fry. There's bigger priorities in town. There are all kinds of high school improvements. If you invest in the quality of schools in town, you invest in your children's future, you invest in your property values, to tie up land, to stop building development, and to preserve open spaces. Well, I'm for preserving open spaces too, but I mean, not for nothing, a third of the town is open space. Has anybody in town been down to the wildlife management area and gone hiking? We don't need any more open space. It'd be nice to have, but it'd be nice to have a Little League field behind the Bagnell School that wasn't overgrown with weeds. It'd be nice to have a Washington park that didn't have potholes in it.
Excuse me, we have to wrap it up. Please.
Bottom line, rescind it now, don't allow the modification. It's just stall tactics to push this thing through. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dempsey, give your name and address.
Mike Dempsey, 33 Uptack Road. I just want to remind people, because the previous speaker brought up some good points, but he failed to mention, I think, the biggest reason of all why we voted for this. We voted for it to protect our water supply. That particular property sits on the aquifer that supplies our well for probably 80% of the people here. So that's why we voted for it. We didn't vote for it. Yes, we're going to get open space. Yes, it's great to have some extra room to put some recreation and fields on. And yes, it's expensive. We went through that last year, but the reason why 63% of the people voted for it, I believe, is because our water supply, we want to protect our water supply. And so by purchasing this property, we're going to do that. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to close it, but I firmly believe we're putting a gun to
Center Street, former member of the zoning board, stayed on the zoning board for 10 years, fighting for this piece of land for you people in this town. I know you say, well, we could put this money to better use, but there's nothing more important than your aquifer. There is nothing more important. It is the most valuable piece of land in this property. And my question to you, when you turn around and you want to take away this money, and you're putting a time frame on this, what happens to all these people in town that voted to protect this water supply when that money is gone? Does that mean that we lose the right to purchase this land? Does that mean it's open for developers? The developers that wanted to come in and put 150 units or 300 units. You want to talk about what's going on? You're going to have your fire department, your electricity, your water supply. Everything in this town is not made for this town to grow that quickly. Yes, we need businesses, but we're struggling. And we have to worry about each and every person in this town. And to grow that quickly, we're not a city. We cannot absorb those costs. So I want to know what's going to happen to this piece of property, if it's going to be up for grabs for somebody to come in. Thank you.
John Osborne, 3 Pleasant Street, husband of moderator. Last time I spoke to this issue, I'd like to remind everyone who's here, maybe those new people, that the issue is a little more complicated than is being laid out. One of the problems is that we are always frightened of development that will increase the demands on the primary school. Now, what we have done here, with the help of the Bagnell School Building Committee, is increase the capacity of the elementary school from approximately 650 people, students, to around 900. However, that is not a very large buffer. And when I was sitting next to the superintendent of schools last time, he expressed concern that, in fact, if indeed they did not buy the property and that it became commercially available, then it might well put a lot of stress on the school system. So there are numerous facets to this issue, namely the aquifer protection and also the need to protect the school system from extreme large increases in elementary students. Thank you.
Daniel MacDonald, 2 Acre Lane. I'd just like to rebut what Mr. Dempsey said earlier and what I failed to say about protecting the aquifers. First off, we have a regulatory system in place that's extremely strict. Anybody who's had to deal with conservation in town or some of the other boards, it's very difficult to build whatever you want in town. So, whereas I strongly urge people to take a look at public safety and clean drinking water, I don't believe in public fear. I think that there are regulatory regulations in place that will protect people and safeguards in place. This is a commercial property over there, and from what I know about it, it was stripped, and I mean, you just can't put anything over there. So if something's going to go there, the boards will have a right to issue permits and not to issue permits. So to buy something for almost $4 million on a maybe, you're spending $4 million on a maybe. Okay, I think that's gambling with taxpayers' money. As far as overburdening the school system, I've heard that too. I don't know if people know that. Thank you, Dr. Mulqueen, for stopping the school choice. But we were losing $7,000 per student, about 177 students. Do the math, it's about $1 million a year, so we could import students from Haverhill. If we grow our own students here in Groveland and Merrimack and West Newbury, we'll have Grovelanders going to the Bagnell Elementary School instead of Haverhill people, and you won't have to pay $7,000 per student for Haverhill students. You're paying that out of your taxes. Your taxes have gone up 50% over the last 7 years. Prop 2.5 has been Prop 7% here in Groveland. This is the home of the overrides, okay? So think hard about it. don't take the sales pitch that this is, you're gonna have dirty water tomorrow. You haven't had dirty water today. I don't think Mr. Dempsey and the Conservation Commission is gonna let something go there that shouldn't go there, because I know he'll do the right thing. Thank you.
Justin Gordon, One Wharf Drive. Mr. Dempsey. Mr. Dempsey said, yes, this is expensive property. Please let me remind you that last year we found out that this property we're paying 6 times more what the property is actually worth. So now we have a chance to rethink what we were going to do last year. And it's and now we find out the guy may not even own all the property. In addition, if it's so valuable, why doesn't the town just take it over by some kind of eminent domain and pay fair market value for it instead of 6 times what it's worth?
Ooh, I like that.
I suggest we rescind tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I'll try and make it short and sweet, and I hope I can. Maura Bradley, 176 King Street. Just like to remind folks that this is about a vote to rescind a vote that was already taken last year and voted upon favorably. It's not a backdoor opportunity to rediscuss it. So it's a simple and clear request tonight that you're voting to give the town additional time to clear up the original issue, not to get into an extended debate about whether or not it's right or wrong. We decided last year by a majority that it was right. Let's just get to the point of the matter. Thank you.
Joe DeMore, 9 Cherry Tree Lane. I wanted to respond to Deborah Young. You had a very compelling question. What happens to the money? It's a very good question. Well, if we rescind the vote, the money is terminated, and that would be in line with the fact that the purchase and sale negotiations are terminated. So if we don't rescind it, we still don't have a purchase and sale, and we actually, Board of Selectmen, the town, we lose control over that money after July 1st. It will be suspended for others to use for something else.
So my question was, what happens to the land that the people of this town voted to save and to purchase to save our aquifer? That's the question, not the money.
Right. I don't have an answer for that. That's pure speculation. Is it right for development? Possibly. I agree with you. Exactly. But the funding is out of our control after July 1st if it's still out there. So doesn't it make sense for those of us, for those of you that are passionate about buying this piece of land, to reserve those funds by taking them back, and then if there is an opportunity to renegotiate in the future, so be it. We start the process all over again, but at least that money will not be spent for something else. Thank you.
2 quick questions. Is it true that this property, I'm sorry, Dick Hodges, 35 Union Street, Groveland, Mass. 01834. Is it true that this property presently, right now, does not have a title? Thank you. Clear title.
It is true that currently there's still one item that shows that the owner doesn't own it.
Okay, and my second question...
The owner that thinks he owns it doesn't own it.
Okay. My second question really comes from the coffee shop here in town, where the word is, and this may be rumor or maybe absolute gospel truth, an assessment was made on this property for $900,000 in terms of value. And I know we voted last year. I'm not contesting the vote. I had a chance to contest that last year and lost. $3,675,000. That I don't understand.
Debbie, do you know what the assessment on the property was? Offhand? Because that is worth renegotiating. If that's true.
Debbie Webster, 45 Wood Street. I also work in the assessor's office. The land assessed value is generally not necessarily today's sale price. We have a delay in what the market's doing. Yes, I think the $900,000 came from what the assessor's office has it assessed for.
But I do, and I think I called Mike on the carpet for this during last town meeting, there were 3 appraisals done on the property with 3 different prices. So maybe Mike can address those numbers for people, but the assessed value isn't necessarily a valid sale price because they were looking at the developability of the property, factoring in what Mr. Bussing had proposed. So if his development did indeed go through, obviously his property is worth more than $900,000 if he can indeed put $150,000. And just an aside to this thing as I'm up here, whatever we think personally about this, it did go to a ballot. Now, whether or not we all agree with it, we have 174 people here, but a lot more voted, okay? And to leave my personal opinions out of it, we should probably, I don't think allowing the extra time would be harmful. I think it's quite reasonable to give Mr. Bussing that extra opportunity to try to clear his title. But I would like to make a point that maybe someone didn't realize. I sat on the Affordable Housing Committee back in 2004, early 2000s, when Mr. Bussing first proposed a 40B out there with Dean Chandras. We brought to the ZBA's attention that Mr. Bussing did not have clear title. Mr. Bussing told us that.
Wow.
Under the ZBA law, you must own and control the property in order to submit a 40B. I have time and time again brought this up through the ZBA clerk that they did not have clear title. Why were they even entertaining Mr. Bussing's application for a 40B? The prior ZBA chair basically ignored it. Their paid consultant ignored it. I was incensed. I brought it up on multiple meetings about lack of clear title. Many, many owners have had their hands in that property. It was a quarry, it's owned by many people. Mattingly had the same issue, and she actually cleared hers up. About 10 or 11 deeds came through maybe about 6 or 7 years ago. So she understood she had a titling issue, and she cleared that all up many, many years ago.
Excuse me, well, you'll have to wrap it up.
Open question.
So, like I said, I know it got voted on. I'd like to see the extension given, but, you know, see what happens. Give them a chance.
Okay, I think I heard someone moving the question. Do I have a second on that? Okay. Those in favor of moving the question, which means closing off all debate, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Say no. Okay, that's the end of debate then. We'll now vote on the article as amended. Sorry. Yes, I'm sorry, we're going to vote on the amendment first. Would someone please read the amendment? Yeah. Please. This is what you're voting on, part 1. No.
That will be the official reading. To see if the town will vote to rescind as of 11:59 p.m. June 30th, 2014, its unused borrowing authority authorized by the affirmative vote of 2013 annual town meeting, warrant Article 12, which authorized the town to borrow $3,675,000 to acquire approximately 61 acres of land, all contingent upon the voters of the town approving a debt exclusion ballot question, which ballot question was approved at the annual election in May of 2013. A lot of words here. Okay, here's the next key amendment piece of it. Provided, however, that if a purchase and sales agreement has been signed by both the town and the seller and certified and approved by town council by 11:59 p.m. June 30th, 2014, that this article shall not take effect or take any other action relative thereto.
Any more questions before we vote on this?
We're voting on the amendment first. Okay, the new wording. There being no other questions, we will vote. Those in favour of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. No. I think the ayes have it. Now we're voting on Article 5 as amended. Those in favour of Article 5 with the wording that was just explained to you, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. No. The ayes have it. Majority vote. Thank you. Article 8 is Article 6. Article 6. This is basically the town budget for running the town. Just a reminder for everybody, I will just mention where it says the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the first page. I will mention just that title. If anybody wants to discuss anything in that section, you please say hold. This is your one chance to hold. And then at the end of the several pages, we will go back and discuss the hold items, the items that have been held. Anybody got, anyone is confused over that? No. Okay. General government. Number 1, moderator. 2, selectmen. 3, Department of Budget and Finance. 4, town accountant. 5, Board of Assessors. 6, town council. 7, computer system consultant. 8, town clerk. 9, conservation commission. 10, planning and engineering. 11, Merrimack Valley Planning Commission. 12, zoning board of appeals. 13, municipal fields and water. 14. Hold. Please make it very clear if you're holding. Shout it out.
13 and 14, I think.
Did we put your hand up if you wanted to hold on 13? 13 is a hold. Is there a hold on 14? No. Okay, so 13 is the only hold so far. 14, municipal buildings. 15, insurance. 16, town reports. That's general government. Now we're going to public safety. Police department.
Hold.
Hold. Parking clerk. Communications. Fire department. Hold. Inspectors. Civil defense. Animal control officer. That's total public safety. Next, we're on to education, 24. That's all of education. Next, 25, public works. 26, highways. 27, street lighting. 28, rubbish collection. 29, cemetery. That's total of public works. Next, we're on to human services. Board of Health. Council on Aging. Elder Services of the Merrimack Valley. Veterans. That is the total of human services. Next, culture and recreation. Library. Did anyone say hold for that? No? Right, no library. Memorial Day services. That's the end of culture and recreation.
Next, debt service, debt interest, and debt principal subtotal, nothing under that. Unclassified, Essex County Retirement Fund, unemployment compensation, employees' health insurance, employees' life insurance, Medicare tax. That's the total of unclassified. And that is the end of Article 6. Now we go back to the beginning. The first hold is on municipal fields and water. Someone wishes to talk on that? Please give your name and address. You'll have to, I think you'll have to pull it down.
Erin Merrill, 14 Summer Street, Groveland. I'm wondering what fields are included.
Who has the answer to that? What fields are included? Okay, here comes Greg again.
Greg, you never get out.
The municipal fields and water budget handles the irrigation systems and well maintenance and the fertilization of the town hall complex and Elm Park. It also provides for the painting of the gazebo at Elm Park. It provides for the maintenance contract of the clock at Elm Park, and basically if any irrigation parts break or things like that, it's done. A few years ago, I know probably Erin's talking about, it was taken out of the system. It used to be a bigger number, about 35,000. And during the budget cuts of the early 2000s, we reduced the Shanahan Field and Washington Park and allowed the soccer and baseball people to maintain that under their own systems. So basically, that's what it's paying for right now.
Any other questions on that municipal fields and water? There being none, we'll move on to the next hold, which is Public Safety Police Department. We had a question.
Justin Gordon, 1 North Drive. I really like the job the policemen do in this town. I really do. But why is the sergeant's salary more than doubling?
Last year, the chief in his budget moved some things around. He removed the secretary's salary, as you can see on here, and he ended up making one of the patrolmen a sergeant at a lower rate. There's a senior sergeant and then a patrol sergeant. So he added the sergeant, which was a position. They used to have 4 supervisory positions prior to his term, so he was getting that one person back.
Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Chuck Harrislack, 94 Main Street. I guess I just have a question about the secretary's salary that was there for this year, $26,470. And just from our previous special meeting, there was an amount that was appropriated for $64.70 that got moved over. Is there an error in numbers there, or was there? The secretary was removed completely now from the line. But
If you look at the line item, that was appropriated for FY14.
that was previous?
Zero for this year, and the finance board approved this year.
Okay.
That's why there's an open space.
That's why there was an open space. And but from the previous meeting, though, when it moved to the patrolman's salary, that $64.70 was for 2014 on the secretary's salary line. We had that Article 19 where the police secretary line item was moved to a patrolman's salary line item.
The secretary's line item was removed completely.
It was removed completely. Okay, all right. I don't know if I completely understand it.
Next.
Nancy Webster, 69 King Street. I was just curious what the incentive wages and other wages, what are those?
Would like to answer that. Bob?
incentive, Robert Kamelowitz, Police Chief. The incentive wages is education incentive wages. Used to be called the Quint Bill years ago, and it's officers get paid for their college degrees. It's common throughout the state. The other wages, that's all of reserve officers pay, overtime, court time, holiday pay, vacation pay for officers to fill in. That answer the question?
Any more questions for the police chief?
There's still no clarity on the doubling of the number of 73,000 to 151. With respect to Mr. Grady, it was not clear.
Yes, what we did is we took one of the patrolmen was promoted to sergeant. One of the patrolmen was promoted to sergeant, so the salary for a patrolman came out of the patrolman's salary line item and was moved into the sergeant's line item. That's why you'll see a decrease from the patrolman's line item from FY13 and an increase in the sergeant's line item for FY14.
Okay. Thank you.
And, yes, what we did too is we took the secretary's salary and some of it went into the compensation for the sergeant's salary and the remainder went into all other, and we have more officers on the street. We have, I explained this at a special meeting before. Years ago we had the safety car, highway safety car that did traffic. Now we have reserve officers in that on a 4 and 2 rotation at reserve pay, so it's a great bargain for the town.
Thank you. Any more questions for the chief? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
We're now on to the next and final hold. I think that's the final one. The fire department. Paul, I will put the hold on that.
Robert Lay, 1 Georgia Street. I'll let Chuck work on the mic when I give you. So I'm between you and the end of this article. That was interesting. I will be brief. For those of you that have been following along at home on cable TV or on social media, there's not a lot of surprise here. I was appointed fire chief in October. Since that day, I've been very straightforward with the Board of Selectmen in negotiating my current contract, which could only be paid up to what was appropriated at last year's meeting. So regardless of the size of the job, there were limited funds. Over the last 6 months, I have done a lot of work to look into realigning the budget as it sits today. So what you have in front of you here are the changes that I'm proposing is taking the chief's position and increasing it to 30 hours a week. There's no way you can do this job in 14 hours a week. I don't care who you are, I don't care what you believe, it can't be done. Because on the last 2 pages of what's written here is the job description. For those of you that have a job description at work, if you read this one, you'd say, boy, that's a lot of stuff to do. Now, you could argue the size of the town, but then you would have to recognize that the salary comps in the other communities, it's in here. See what the other chiefs earn. Not looking for $80,000, $90,000, $100,000. I sized this thing relative to the Georgetown model, which is in the low 60s for 40 hours. 3/4 of that comes out to the number that you've seen here today. This is about public safety. This is about being on the job as often as I can. I'm in town the majority of the time anyhow. There's just more work to be done here than what many of you may recognize. Doesn't affect your tax rate one bit. This is all funded within the existing budget. And I'm sure there'll be some opposition to this. So why don't we get right at it?
Oh, excuse me, Mr. DeMore is in front of you. You're letting him go? Oh, okay. Right.
everybody keep to 3 minutes, please?
We can dispute this all night, but I just want to let everybody know that unless the Board of Selectmen, who is in charge of this budget, changes the line items, we can vote $1 million tonight, but it isn't going to make any difference, because if the Selectmen's plan is what it is on your paper, and they stay with that, it's not going to change. So, we can do this all night.
Thank you.
Daniel McDonald again, 2 Waco Lane.
3 minutes.
2 minutes, I won't need 2 minutes. I don't see it as a taxpayer issue, whether or not there's $1 available or $1 million available. The fact of the matter remains that there was a job posted. There were several qualified candidates that were interviewed, and if it was a full-time position or one with certainly double the hours and additional benefits, there may have been more qualified applicants that would have posted for that position. So if the job is to change, I urge the Board of Selectmen to repost the position, solicit qualified people. And you know what? It may very well be a job that requires more hours, but this is a small town and it's had a volunteer fire department for a number of years, and they've done an outstanding job. And there may be some retired fireman out there that may need a part-time job, and he's happy with no benefits and a little amount of pay, and he wants to do something called community service and not self-service. So I think there's a strong appearance. And again, it seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seems like somewhat of a get your foot in the door and bait and switch. So I'm not happy about what I've heard, and I think we ought to keep the budget the way it is, keep the volunteer fire department, keep that payroll down, and if there is a need for public safety, repost them. Thank you.
Joe Demore, 9 Cherry Tree Lane. Point of clarification, the fire chief, within 2 weeks of accepting the position, immediately began to communicate to us in open sessions that the 14 hours was insufficient to complete the job. So it did not take 6 months to come to that realization. It didn't take a study. I think it was an intention, and I do question whether or not the fire chief negotiated or tried to negotiate, or accepted the position in good faith. Keep in mind that there are 3 ways that we can run a fire department in this town, 3 separate laws. All fall under Chapter 48. 42A is what's called the weak chief, kind of a silly semantics, but a weak chief is essentially a managerial chief that is controlled by the Board of Selectmen. He can be fired, either at will or with cause. Last year, we got rid of the Board of Fire Engineers, which never was in place for 20 years properly within the law. They operate under Chapter 48, Section 45, sprinkled with a few others all the way up to 55. But they never appointed a fire chief, and so they actually never took the law into their hands and operated this department the way they were supposed to. So by default, we ended up with a third method, and that is basically where we are today is we have what's called the strong chief. Again, a silly law, semantics, but a strong chief is essentially an administrative chief. He does have sole discretion to manage the fire department, but he does not have discretion over the finances. Now, recently, the fire chief entered our town into an agreement with a private firm and incurred an invoice outside of his scope of responsibility and outside of his authority. I can tell you one thing, I don't know a darn thing about running a fire department, but I'm not comfortable sitting in that seat having to watch over this fire department and taking all my information from one person. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a warrant article, and I'm going to present it to the Board of Selectmen sometime next year. And I won't vote on it. Now, hopefully, they'll agree with me that it should be on the warrant. So that next year, I'll make a proposal to you, with the help of other people, mostly outside of Groveland, to bring in the Board of Fire Engineers, which is a required check and balance for the Board of Selectmen and for the people of Groveland, so that we can keep the fire chief as a part-time position. We do not have to grant a 150% increase in his salary today. Thank you.
My name is Kurt Rashala, 16 Union Street, and I've been a member of this fire department. I'm going to stand back. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
What's the moderator's mic?
Can everyone hear me? I have kind of a loud voice.
Corner over there.
All right. I've been in the fire service for 29 years, last 18 of them being with the Groveland Fire Department. I'm currently a captain. I oversee Central Station. My background is I'm a fire protection engineer, and I'm also a governor's appointee to the Mass Fire Training Council, which basically handles the fire academy training and the certification process in the Commonwealth. What we need is, this is not a debate about time and money. This is a debate about doing the job. And the last 18 years, this job has been done in a certain way. The last 6 months, we've made progress, a lot of progress. This is about our safety, policies and procedures being put into place that reflects on us and our current safety and how we operate. So from firefighter, call firefighter, in the service today, I'm telling you, it's working. We're making progress. This is a very small amount of money for increased hours. So it's not an increase in the salary, it's an increase in hours to do more work. And this directly comes back to us. And the biggest value, too, is the leadership and the management of the fire department. The value comes from your call firefighters. Our budget's $231,000. Look at the other budgets that are on this paper. Your value comes with the men and women that get on the trucks on a call basis. We deserve good leadership. We deserve full-time leadership. We deserve full-time management. You're going to save money in the long run by retaining your call fire department without sacrificing what we need from the standpoint of policy, procedures, and management and leadership. Thank you.
Joe DeMore, 9 Cherry Tree Lane.
They turned it off, though.
I'll make this very simple, folks. This is about money. Because in order to increase the fire chief's salary, you have to eliminate other people's positions. And naturally, without a fire board of engineers or checks and balances, plus shutting down other positions, of course, no human can do the job even in 100 hours a week. I have a copy here of the minutes of a meeting that was conducted back in March 12th. It's the Essex County Fire Chiefs Association. Now, I don't see anything in the minutes of this meeting of professional fire chiefs about safety and leadership. I'll read it to you. Chief Lay reported that he has reached out for benchmark information from similar departments. He currently works 14 hours per week, but is trying to expand it to 30 and drop the clerical help. His plan would stay within the existing budget. He has had a lot of opposition and was looking for help. Chief Dolan advised him to approach FCAM for help. I suppose that's another association. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
I don't think I really need a mic. Steve Merrill, 14 Summer Street. I'm on the fire department as well. I've been on it for 5 years. For the first four and a half years, it was okay, but there wasn't much being done. The last 6 months, we've just jumped, skyrocketed in quality. People are doing more. People are coming more, attending more. I want to read off something that I thought was kind of amusing. I just saw in there. You're paying about just under 15 grand for our part-time fire chief, but we're paying part-time van driver $17,800. That's just one. You want me to keep on going? I can. But the fact is that we have 30 hours that he's asking for, and it's something that we need, because we're volunteers doesn't mean we want our management to be a volunteer. Okay? We actually want that person to be ready for us and give us our information and go through the process for us, because he's setting up and developing a curriculum for the new firefighters that come in and keeping the other firefighters that have been on for 5 years or more, 10, 15. So just think about that when you're voting on it, right?
My name is
South Hillview Drive. I didn't want to have to speak tonight on an issue with the fire department because the fire department is very near and dear to my heart. But it is a house divided, and I think what's not been made clear to this town meeting is that the only people that can set the salary for the fire chief under the strong chief law, which we adopted at last year's annual town meeting, are the Board of Selectmen. And so this, in my mind, this is my personal opinion, bringing this kind of a, I didn't get one of them, I guess, because I wasn't going to support it. But this is an end run around the negotiation process that the police chief and the other contractual employees go through in this town. My husband, I should tell you, in full disclosure, is the deputy chief in the department. I've been proud of his service with this department. My youngest son, who's away at college, also serves on the department when he's home. I'm equally proud of him. This is a very good fire department. They do a fantastic job. They will continue to do a fantastic job.
Yes, they will.
But I also know that from past experience, having been on the finance committee and other things, firefighter wages, you can't take money from there because the firefighter wages go up and down depending on how many fires and how many medical calls we have. So you are not the people to make this transition. It is the Board of Selectmen. They have to consider this. We have to consider the growth in the town, and we have to make a plan. This is not the way to do it, and it's not fair to all the members of the fire department who work hard and aren't trying to get more money tonight. Thank you.
Once again, Kurt Rochelle, 16 Union Street, and it's true. And I encourage the Board of Selectmen to monitor the fire department, to see what we're doing. So far, the chief, I think, has invited the group of selectmen and anyone else to come into his office and discuss things with him. But today, I don't know if anyone's actually taken him up on it. So, I mean, I'm for oversight. I think the chief's doing a great job, and keep that in mind when you're doing this. And from the standpoint of firefighter wages, I think it was in the chief's, the fire department's handout, where that money was coming from. All right, so keep that in mind, keep the facts in mind, and try to keep the emotion out of it. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm John Clement, 351 Center Street. I was your fire chief for 20 years, 1993 to 2013. Mandatory retirement kicked in last year. I'm also the clerk. So I was relieved of my duties in 2013. Looks like I'm gone again in 2014. I'd like to go back a little bit and explain what the fire chief's salary is all about. I was a call firefighter in 1976. That's when I started. My heart was in serving the community. That's what we all did. I see some old faces here. We didn't do it for the money. We always said that. We don't do it for the money. When I took the position as fire chief, I knew it was going to be more than 15 hours. But it was a salary position. There was a set figure. I bought into that. And it didn't make any difference if it was 40 hours or 400 hours. It was a salary, it was fixed. I did my job. I made all the runs. I did all the training. I administered the department for so many years. But that's what I accepted. And now we're faced with something a little bit different. It's all about the money, isn't it? It's not the same. You can't have a call fire department, true call fire department, which quite often are called volunteers. You can't have that type of department when you have the guy at the top looking for the bucks. What kind of message does that send to the rest of the guys? And I know that's being resented by many of the men. There are others that are applauding it, and for good reason, because they may be the recipient someday of a higher salary as well. Trust me, that's where you're going. You're going to lose this department if you fall prey to that begging for more power, begging for more money, more hours. You accept the position for the salary. The fire chief does not get paid by the hour. I think we're confusing something here. This 14 and a half and 15-hour business, that's something that the selectmen introduced at the last minute when they put the poster out for the position. And that was done for a specific reason. Benefits. That's what it's all about. Because they don't have to pay benefits if you're under 19 hours. That's why they threw it in at this time. I have to agree with Bob or whoever. You can't do it for 15 hours. You can't do it for 19 hours. But it's a salary position. And you do it because you got the heart to do that job. And if you don't have the heart, step down.
Excuse me, just for a second. You want to talk, Dave? I have a rule that if there's somebody who has not talked, they have priority. Thank you.
Debbie Webster again, 45 Wood Street. As I said, I work in the assessor's office, so I hear a lot of people come in complaining about the taxes. You do have in here, Bob, that it's proposed as budget neutral, and everyone's tiptoeing around the word benefits. What this boils down to is once you go above 20 hours, you are now eligible for Essex County retirement. Bob has worked for the department for a long time. I've worked with him when I was a police dispatcher. And I'm sure Bob will enter into Essex County and buy back all his old time and basically will retire with a higher pension than I'm going to get. And I've worked for the town full-time for a long time. I'm not going to begrudge the position. We've had a great department over the years. I'm sure changes maybe need to be looked at in the future, but I do want you people to know that if you want to vote for this, which is fine, I'm not saying anything about Bob's skill, known him for a long time, certainly knows his job. So do most of the other men there. Some of the jobs that have been taken away from all of the other firefighters or the officers, or they're still well qualified to do that. But I just want you to understand, because I'm the one that everybody comes to, because the selectmen aren't around to yell at. The treasurer, collector's office gets yelled at, and I get yelled at. So as long as you understand this is not budget neutral, we're going to add another pension person to Essex County retirement. So as long as you're okay with that, that's fine. Because I'm not going to begrudge anybody who's had service for the town for a long time to get any benefits that they deserve. But I just want you to understand it is not budget neutral, and maybe someone can address going forward what the cost may be.
I think we will call this to a close after you have...
I just wanted to say that this is coming from the fire department, active firefighter, 29 years of service in the fire service, and we need the oversight. We really do. I wouldn't be up here right now if everything was fine the way it was. It wasn't. We have a new job description, and it has a lot more information and a lot more things that we need. So I believe it's very good value. I think it's very good value for us as firefighters, and I encourage you to go for it.
Okay, well, like I said at the beginning, I mean, we can vote anything we want tonight, but for town council's, findings on the chief's position as a strong chief, the Board of Selectmen are the only ones that control the level of funding. Now, what we have on this year's omnibus is what we're proposing. So, I mean, I'm glad that Bob got up to let you all know that, there's more that goes into the job in case you don't watch it on TV, during the other things. We've made some adjustments for Bob meeting with us. He talked about some software to change the way the run sheets are turned in. We currently spend about $1,100 a year on the run books that they fill out at the two stations. So we've moved $2,431 into their expense fund. That was moved from the clerk's salary, and there was also $3,400 moved to the chief's salary, or his hours, raising it to roughly 16 and a half hours a week. I know it's not 30, but we're trying to move slowly to try and get the fire department to where it needs to be. until we find a way that we can do different funding. I mean, it is budget neutral, just like they were talking, but there was another question Bob brought to it. How do I get trained? Well, there's training money here that was voted several years back by the town, and there's no reason that the chief can't be paid out of that. We've checked what the vote was on, and it was for the fire department. It didn't say not for the chief. So, you know, we've got different things that we're already working on. I'm sorry I won't be there to continue working on it. But, you know, the new board or whoever the new person is, they're gonna have to get together and work on what the contract is. We can't, it's no sense trying to change it here because it doesn't change it. So that's what I tried to say at the beginning. I'm glad everyone said what they had to say, but we didn't get anywhere.
I think we'll bring this discussion to a close. Someone said something? No? Okay.
Finance Committee recommendation? Second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Move the Finance Committee recommendation for the department. And I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve the Finance Committee's recommendations. Moved and seconded. Now it's up for discussion.
Madam Moderator?
Yep.
Can I ask why we haven't voted on the amendment first?
You haven't presented me with an amendment. That sheet that you gave out at the beginning, you didn't, you just presented it, you didn't say it was an amendment. Okay. All right, sorry. You didn't use the right word, sorry. Okay, so. Okay. So you have to move, someone has to move and second it as an amendment. But first of all, we have to start with the originals, right?
Order, Madam Moderator.
Madam Moderator, through you, right now, there is no amendment on the floor, so it would be in order to discuss or to vote on the original budget as it was Kathy moved.
We moved
There is
and
no
seconded.
amendment, there is no amendment on the floor, so it is not in order to vote on any amendment at this time. So the procedure now is to vote, to vote on the budget as moved and amended from the floor.
If it does not pass, the party can move an amendment back. Right. Okay. This was not quite done in the right way. We have a motion on the floor to accept the Finance Committee's numbers as printed in front of you. If you vote in favour of that, then the changes that the fire chief wants to make is dead. If you vote down Ms. Castronell, I think it was Ms. Castanella's, yeah? Ms. Castanellas's,
Whoa. It's the Finance Committee recommendations and the selectmen's.
sorry, the selectmen and fire department and finance department's recommendations. If you vote those down, then the amendment can be presented. Okay? All right. It was just done. I'm sorry, when you gave that out, you just gave it out. And it's got to be presented as, you've got to say this is an amendment. Okay?
Madam Moderator, through you again, I've been asked by Selectman Graney to address the issue of the legality of town meeting floor moving to amend the budget numbers for the fire department, which have been approved by the selectmen. Brian Mazer of our office, who's a labor specialist, was asked to give an opinion about whether those numbers could be amended from town meeting floor, and his answer was no. They cannot be amended legally from town meeting floor. The reason is because under the strong chief statute, which I think someone already quoted, Chapter 48, Section 42, the chief shall be appointed by the selectmen and shall receive such salary as the selectmen may from time to time determine. It is the selectmen who must determine the salary. Attorney Mazer also sent an email to the Board of Selectmen, and it says as follows. The Board of Selectmen must approve the wages for the fire department members before they are made effective. In other words, you can vote on it tonight if you want, but it will have no legal effect. I've been asked by the Board of Selectmen to advise you of that opinion. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you for that clarification. So, is everybody clear on this rather fuzzy issue? That basically what the amount that you see in Article 20 for the fire department, recommended by the Selectmen and the Finance Committee, that is the legal amount that you can vote on. Now, we have a motion on the floor to move that section 20, moved and seconded, and we are going to vote on that. Our motion was for the whole budget? Okay, then I stand corrected. The motion was made for the whole budget. I'm sorry, I thought it was just for the fire department budget. So here are we voting on the whole budget as discussed and as presented by the Finance Committee and Selectmen. Those in favour of... okay, let me get the right article here. Article 6, sorry, I'm not too well left-handed. Those in favour of Article 6 as presented, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Passes as Article 6. On to Article 7. See the town will vote to raise and appropriate $851,696 for the water department. You can see the breakdown in front of you. Water and Sewer Commissioners recommend. Favorable. Selectmen. Finance. Unfavorable. Moved and seconded for favourable action. Any discussion? Then we'll vote on it. Those in favour of the Water Department article say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Majority. 7, Article 8 now. This is the Sewer Department. $526,598 for the Sewer Department. Water and Sewer Commissioners recommend. Favorable. Selectmen. Finance. Unfavorable. Moved and seconded for favorable action. Any discussion? Yes.
Inez Steele, 6 Union Street. I'd just like to know why the Finance Committee is voted unfavorable.
Voted unfavorable because the raises didn't keep within the 2% raise that everybody else received.
You're going on the Finance Board recommendation of the Selectmen now? So unfavorable then? No?
Yes means no, no means yes. I probably learned from that.
Okay. Right. I'm getting completely confused here. The Water and Sewer Commissions recommend favourable. Selectmen recommend favourable. Finance Board, unfavourable. We've moved and seconded favourable. Bear with me, I'm getting a little tired. Okay, any discussion? There being none, we'll vote. Article 8, those in favour say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Majority. 9, to fix the salary and compensation of all elected and appointed officers of the town. Selectmen recommend. Finance. Moved and seconded favourable action. Discussion? No? Let's vote. Those in favor of Article 9, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Unanimous. Moving right along. 10. Raise and appropriate $35,000 for repairing the fire department's ladder truck. Board of Selectmen recommend favorable. Finance? Moved and seconded, favorable action.
Discussion?
Yep.
John Clement, 351 Center Street. $35,000 for repair to the ladder? Ladder truck? Okay. Is this truck in service? Yes, it is, okay.
We having a debate?
Is,
Hey, I'm asking you a question, okay? It may not be a debate. I'm asking you a question.
okay. Has this ladder been tested this year?
No, it hasn't.
Okay. What is this $35,000 repair based on? Who evaluated that truck?
Because the mechanic told him last year it probably wouldn't pass again.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Excuse me, gentlemen. No, I know, but excuse me a second.
Guys, knock it off, right now.
Yeah.
That's enough.
We can have civil debate here without raising voices.
This ladder truck is up for replacement, and I don't know if we should be spending $35,000 on the truck at this time. Also, the truck has not been tested this year. It was tested last year. It's passed every year. The mechanic that works on the truck presently has no problem with this truck. So I'm really baffled as to what we need $35,000 for, and who evaluated the truck, who came up with this number. It's a mystery to me.
Thank you.
I think we should hear from someone as to, what's the $35,000 going to do?
Thank you.
It was inspected last year by a certified ladder inspection company that the former chief contracted with. We also have, Robert Lay, 1 George Street, I'm sorry. We also have a mechanic that does all of our preventive maintenance. I was told by the mechanic that the fellow that tested it last year stated it probably won't pass again because it drifts. So you put the thing on, when you do a test, and if it moves a certain amount, it doesn't make it. Now, I'm not a hydraulics guy, so I trust the 2 people that we hired to do that. John probably knows best. So what I told the finance committee was, the capital committee was, you better appropriate the money to get it fixed in case it fails. It's scheduled to be inspected in a couple of weeks. It may pass. If you turn down the money and it fails, then you have a ladder truck you can't put in service and you have no money to fix it. So you're basically setting aside the money to fix it should it fail. I don't know if it's going to pass or fail. I don't know that.
Thank you. Make it quick, John. It's getting late. It's getting very late.
Ladder certification takes place every year, and there's a whole list of items that it's tested for. And they're ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every time you do a ladder test, there are some items that fail, but that doesn't mean you have to take the truck out of service. It means you repair them. To come up with a number of $35,000 based upon nothing. There is nothing wrong with the truck as of today. You're taking $35,000 and you're setting it aside just in case. What type of provisions do we have to do that? Can we set aside $35,000? What happens if the truck passes? Where does the money go? I guess that's my question.
It stays with the line item from the selectmen, so it doesn't go into the fire department. I think we're going to bring this to a close after this gentleman.
That Kurt Rochelle, 16 Union Street, Captain, Groveland Fire. That truck is stationed at my station. It's leaked since the day we got it. Has major repairs since the day we got it. It was put in service around 1998 for us. It's true, the Capital Improvements Committee has that on their list for replacement. We're trying to get a few more years out of the truck. And if we don't anticipate the problems with it and put it before the town, then we're left holding the bag when it doesn't pass and it needs major repairs. And we come back to the town and they said, well, why didn't you tell us at the town meeting? Now we have to wait till the fall for a special town meeting. The reason it's on here now is to make everyone aware of the condition of the truck, 1981 truck, it's an old truck, it needs some repairs. That's all.
Thank you.
Someone asked what happens to the money if it doesn't need the repairs?
So like we just said, it goes into the...
Stays in the line item, it won't be spent.
It won't be spent. We'll close, I think we've covered just about everything we need to cover here. Would someone like to move the question? I'm sorry, do you have something new? I don't want to go with the same... Okay.
His hand was up before it got called.
Does that mean it's going to be reclassified for budget neutral next year in the form of salaries and benefits, or can it not be spent?
Not without town meeting approval. Town meeting would have to approve, if the money, this happens all the time. Appropriations are, by town meeting, are authorizations to spend, it's not a command to spend. So if money is not spent, then it stays in the town's coffers until town meeting approves a transfer or some other form of appropriation for another purpose. So the money would not be spent for another purpose without approval of town meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Then let's vote on this article. Article 10, 35.